Hello, this is Ken Smith. Oops. Using an iPhone to record some stuff. I just want to talk a little bit about, as the title states, creative guitar. I remember I was just in Nashville, and I was talking to this really amazing player. I call her a young lady. She's around my age, maybe a little bit older. But she was an amazing picker. She was, you know, Brett Mason plus. Um, and I asked her what her name was, and got to sit down and talk to her, and got to know her a little bit. And I told her, one day I would like to get together with you for like a lesson, or just get together and learn some of your, licks, because I would love to learn that kind of type of finger style. And then I sat down and I showed her the kind of stuff that I do. And she's like, well, I would like to learn some of those jazz chords. And so she just, said that, if you teach me some of those jazz chords, I'll teach you some of what I know. She's like, and she claimed it wasn't much, But after I got back home, I thought about that, and it brings to mind a lesson I had that I gave with this one student about jazz chords. There's really no such thing as jazz chords. To me, to be a really creative guitar player, you must get rid of that notion of jazz, blues, rock, R&B, whatever. Like there's only certain chords that you can use in certain styles. They're just chords, and you can use these chords in any shape and form. So there's really no certain jazz chords, no certain blues chords. They're just chords that are used predominantly in each style. So get away from that, putting things in the slots in order. Humans do that and fuck up everything. So you can just use any kind of chord in any type of situation, like a chord like this. That could be used in a jazz situation. Or it can be a country situation. It just depends on really what kind of melodic sense you make out of the chords. What's another example? Like this chord I like using. I think it's a seven sharp 5, something like that. See, those are not jazz chords. Those are just pretty chords. You can put that in a ballad. Let's see if I can do something right here. Like I say, that's kind of like a slow, funky kind of ballad type beat. So you can take these so-called jazz chords and use them in something like that. Okay. And then let's see, there's a sad version of a jazz beat in here. Let me see if I can find it. Or better yet, his is like a bossa nova. Take the same chords and so, you know, try another beat. Now this is supposed to be like a fusion-like beat, you know. Okay. Let's go to the shuffle. And here's a kind of reggae beat. Same chorus. So right there, that shows you that using those, you know, these so-called jazz type chords, we just apply them to pretty much every style of music. Let's see, I got something else in mind, like a simple. What the hell? Let's try it with this. This is like a rock beat, so. And I threw in a couple of other weird chords. So you may see, if you can see what I'm saying, you can use any chord anywhere. It's how you use them, how you melodically structure them. You know. You know. So study chords and don't label them like I'm learning jazz chords or I'm learning blues chords. Knock that out. Just study chords. And then don't be afraid to experiment. You know, move your hands around in just weird places. You never know what you'll come up with. Move your fingers around. You know, just say to yourself, will this work? No matter how weird it sounds. Because one person's weird is another person's beautiful fantasy. So, you know, and just experiment, you know, like put your fingers in certain strings and just see what you can, you know, come up with. And if you're able to, and you find something good, you know, write them down by tablature or notation. Sometimes just play. What I do, I I'll put on like I have a loop station here, um, and I'll turn this on um, and record what you know. Well, I'll give you a demonstration of what I'm talking about. Let's see if I can find an empty spot. So I'll come up with some weird voicings like that's perfect. And I'll do something like that's if my guitar could record it. For some reason it's not picking up. Some kind of technical malfunction here. But anyway, the thing is that I'll come up with a weird chord and I'll just loop it. And I'll try to figure out what it is and try to improvise to it. And then this particular looper has 3 stages. So on the next stage, I'll put a, try another type of voice. And then I'll check that out and see how I can improvise to to that. This is a really good way also to create great compositions, and at the same time you're kind of building your vocabulary musically and guitar-wise, and just write down everything that you're doing. I guess what I'm trying to say is don't be typical, you know. Try to be, not typical. Try to do things outside the box, because that's when you learn. When you kind of like, get beyond of just and go, then you develop different ways of voicing and chords and seeing things, and you start opening your mind up. And once you open your mind up to to things, I just can't express how many wonderful possibilities come out when you just open your mind up. A lot of guitar players nowadays are just so closed-minded that this is rock, this is jazz, and and they're just closing themselves off. While in Nashville this weekend for the NAMM, I saw a performer that I've been knowing for years, and he's still doing the same routine that he's been doing for 30 years, or that maybe kind of made him famous 30 years ago. And it was, to me, it's kind of sad, because I know in my heart that he has the capabilities to grow, to expand himself, but he won't. He's put himself in a box, and see, once you put yourself in a box or put blinders on your side, you're pretty much stuck to that same way of playing. A lot of people get comfortable with certain ways to play, because that's what the majority of folks like. But you can't do what majority of people like. You'll never grow that way. You can't do what seems to make certain people happy. You got to do what makes you happy. You got to, expand your knowledge and be more than who you think you are. And if you're in a certain situation, certain place, part of the country or whatever, that people are comfortable with this, and they may put you down if you express yourself another way, then that means that you just got to go someplace else where they appreciate the way you want to express yourself. It's just like Bob Dylan back in the day when he was doing acoustic and harmonica. When he switched to electric, people just lost their minds. It's like, oh, he done gave into the society, he done did this and he done backslid and all this. All he did was expand himself. Acoustic guitar was one type of Bob Dylan. Electric guitar was the new Bob Dylan. And he didn't let people dictate what his style was going to be. That's what I really love about Bob Dylan. The same thing with Zappa. Zappa was never the one to to just get comfortable or to do the norm. He went outside the norm, and that's what makes you a musician. Doesn't make makes you a good musician. Doesn't make you weird or odd. Those are the words that humans come up with, and certain humans come up with to discredit and dismiss and disrespect other people with their form of greatness. And can't pay attention to that stuff because a lot of people do things out of jealousy, envy, and a lot of folks are just stuck in this one way of living. They don't know how to, jump over the fence, so to speak. So you can't let that lock you down. So just make this what it is, an incredible journey. There's so many amazing things you can do on the guitar, don't lock yourself down. So that's the lesson I have for today. So there's a lot of good so-called jazz guitar books that you should check out because they're very informative. But just know that although you working out of a book that says jazz guitar, know that those chords are not just applicable to jazz. You can use them for everything else. Chords like that, I mean, well, what would you call those chords? Would you call them jazz? Would you call them ambient? The cool thing about my music is I piss people off. I make people think. People look at my face, they see it's black, and they expect me to just, and then I don't. That weirdness, or I find a way to not make it so weird. I'll experiment, but the whole thing is I'm experimenting. I'm doing something. I'm outside the norm. I'm not the typical. Not that I don't have anything, that I have anything against blues or whatever. I love all styles. I just hate the way people box up things and kind of destroy the national. I'm trying to say these words, but they just don't want to come out of my mouth right. The natural way of music. There are a lot of musicians that want to box up jazz, box up classical, box up country, and that is this, but it's not. I have a bunch of people that hate me now because I tell them I'm from the old school of jazz, which jazz was just expressive. I'm from Coltrane, Miles, Eric Dolphy, all Ornette Coleman, then later John Scofield, Pat Metheny, Jocko. I'm from that. So when I was growing up, jazz wasn't boxed; it was free. There's a lot of people just trying to cage things like they cage animals or whatever. So break out of the cage and be the musician you want to be. And I'll leave you with that.